is going down. Today, we're going to talk about how the mind works and mental magic. So, how can I make it easy? The way the mind works, how you learn things, and that's through repetition. So, when you learn your ABCs, they made you write them on paper repeatedly, repetition. Then they made you say them over and over, repetition. Then they made you go home, write them on a piece of paper till you filled up the paper over and over. That's repetition. Then you did that all week. And then at the end of the week, they just asked you to repeat the information that they gave you. So you learned in Western civilization, how you learned was through repetition. They broke something down and they made you keep repeating it until you couldn't forget it. Though, and then your mind accepted it. The mind is like a supercomputer that when you get a new computer, there's nothing that you have saved in there yet, and then you can begin to save things that you want to have in your computer. So far in our lives, most of the only things we saved in our computer is things that we've learned from Western civilization, America. So, learning through repetition means that if you was to learn something new, if your brain, your supercomputer was full of things, you would have to remove some of those things or create more space in order for your mind to accept new things. So it could be possible that a lot of things that you believe are real aren't real. But the reason why they're still real to you is because you repeatedly put it in your supercomputer when the preacher said it. Every Sunday you went to church and he kept telling you those things from the Bible. You kept remembering them. You even went home, repeated them, went home and kept singing the church songs, and you did it repetitively so much that now it is stored in your brain, which is your supercomputer. So the reason people hold on to things it's because of how the mind works. They stored it in their mind and they're not willing to change it, move it, or delete it at all because people don't know how the mind works, how to delete things from the mind, how to clear your mind, clear the canvas, and start to rebuild and use your mind how you want to use it instead of only seeing the things that someone else put in your mind and not being able to break things down on a higher level because you wasn't taught that higher level of how to break things down in the mind, of how to clear the mind and bring new things in. And one of the easiest ways is through repetition. So if you want the truth of the truth of the truth, you have to be willing to say, there's some things in my brain, my supercomputer that I might need to get rid of or put on standby or put it in a zip file where you make it real small and then you make room in your brain to put new things in, new information, new truth, and that's how you get truth. You can't get truth through just listening to somebody a couple times and walking off not really wholeheartedly feeling what they're saying. If you want truth, you have to go after the truth and keep seeking truth repetitiously. Seeking truth has to happen in your mind repetitiously. Your mind has to realize this is what I want in it now. I had this in it. Now I want truth in it. And until you get it in your mind that you want the real truth of what's going on in the world, the things that has happened, the things that are happening, and the things that will happen. If you want the truth of that, you have to retrain your mind. It's like retraining your mind so your mind will work how you need it to work. Well, your mind believes information that you went out and studied and researched and then you put in your mind. See, in our minds today, it's just mostly the stuff we learned through high school and college. That's your mind. But what have you went out and researched about yourself and about ancient black people that came before you That's your ancestor, your bloodline, your kinfolk, your family. Have you yourself went and researched that repetitiously to the point where now you know who you are in your mind? Because this is how the mind works. When we went to school, they taught us the basics of the basics, and they mostly taught us about white people that they taught was great. So you went through elementary, junior high, and high school learning about great white people that invented great things. You even learned about Jesus and he white. And then you learned that God is in heaven sitting on a great what? White throne. So what you repetitiously learned, all Americans, what we repetitiously learned through school was that white people are great. That's why you have Alexander the Great, when really he was a murderer. All he did is go through, conquer, and murder people while they was just chilling in a village. He came and murdered them. But in your mind, he's Alexander the Great. And if I ask you who Tahuti was, or Ramses the Third, or who was the pharaoh in the ninth dynasty, which was a black person, then you wouldn't know that, because your supercomputer only knows that there's only great white people. You know, like Christopher Columbus, you learned about him. You got George Washington, all the white people you learned about in school made your supercomputer, your brain, think that white people are on top of this earth thing and everybody else are like under them in some kind of way, because that's how they taught it. Well, if you're black or you're Mexican or you're Chinese and you learn all your schooling about white people, when you graduate, you still don't know who you are and how your mind works. You just know a couple of inventions and great things that white people did. So, do you really know how your mind works? And do you really know how great you are? Because until you know who you really are and how great you are, you'll be a slave and you'll let the slave master keep his foot on your neck, because the slave master is white. And white is great because that's how they taught us repetitiously. Now, when you go to college, they taught you about all the great white people and the basics of science, and they taught you your so-called history. Then when you get to college, they say, okay, all these great people, great white people that figured out scientific equations and that built planes and that came up with electricity, and they was the first white people to do all these great things. And then when you get to college, they say, okay, we'll teach you some of the sciences on how they were able to do these things. This is how electricity works. This is how flight works. This is how this works. This is how the plants go. But even when you go to college and they teach you that, they're teaching your mind things that are the most basic of the sciences. So even when you graduate college, you only know bits and pieces of equations of things that white people figured out. So the reason why I tell people we don't know much is because what about the black people that white people got that information from, the pyramids? When they got all the information they got, they broke it down and just gave your brain the bare minimum of the truth. So you don't really know science. Even if people go to college for years and years, when I talk to them about quantum physics and how humans relate with the planets and things like this, and how we can use certain energies, they don't know what I'm talking about. And when I talk to people that go to college and I say, well, if you went to college, you should also know uh, high science. How are government people and NASA people actually going to space? What technology are they using to build the spacecrafts? And what sciences are they using to actually go out of space? You know, break this little hemisphere and enter the triple blackness of space. What's the science behind it? And and I ask black people this and they really don't have any answers. Well, it's like this. On earth, in the waters of the earth, they move in currents. So there's a current that if you jump in a boat in Africa without a motor, just your little paddles, and you'll see that the currents will take you a couple of ways. If you take off from Africa right here, it'll take you there. If you take off from Africa, this part of Africa, and you jump in the water, the current will take you here. If you jump in a boat on this part of Africa and you go out, the current will take you here. So there's a current in the water that took the people from Africa to America thousands of years before white people was even on the scene on the planet. The current did that. So, it's still people arguing about how did these people do this? How did these people do these things? How did they build the pyramids? Like I said, it's the way that your mind is working. The things that you believe now in your computer that you have stored will not allow you to accept the greater high science and the greater technology, because the way they taught you, your mind is now on the mundane chakra and you mostly think about survival, and you just got basic information on math and science. So when the government come on TV and say y'all niggas need to do this and this, y'all gonna do it because y'all know that the shit that they taught y'all in school is not enough for you to be able to take care of the world yourself. Like the black people that came here first, that was here first, they took care of the earth, the water, the air. They were able to take care of the earth and build where they needed to build, grow where they needed to grow. Well, my people today wouldn't know how to do that, and it's because they refuse to take out the bullshit that the European and America taught them out their supercomputer and put the truth of who they are in their supercomputer. So the only way black people can figure this shit out again and how to take care of ourselves and have our own factories and our own chemical plants and our own banks. And the only way we can do that is to go back and figure out how the first people did that. And they had a thought process that was called a holistic thought process. So I'll do a video on that. And when you go out of space, when you make it past this ozone or whatever they call it, when you get a certain distance out, well, in space, in the triple black darkness, there are also currents. And suns have currents and planets have currents. So once your spaceship is close enough to something in space, it's going to catch that current. And it's going to, depending on what current you catch and what orbit you're on, that's where you're going to go. So you see, it's not impossible to know about space, and it's not impossible for people that's black to go outer space because they found pyramids when they made it to the other planets and to the moon. So we already was out there. So what did those black people know that you don't know about the mind and about yourself? I'm just trying to wake a couple niggas up. You know what I'm saying? Fuck shit. I just woke up. About to roll me a blunt. I had to let y'all know that it is possible for black people to go out into the heavens. We can go out into the different levels of space and go see if it's a white dude out there named God or if it's a white dude out there named Jesus. You don't have to wait till you die. And people that really been out there, they never seen God on a cloud. They go through the clouds all the time. There is no God on the cloud. They know that. So it's time for everyone else to know that. It's time for us to know the sciences that they know, how they build in spacecrafts, what they doing at Area 51, and who gave them the technology to do it. You know what I'm saying? Because white people can't be as smart as the people that taught them. So how are they doing these things? They're doing what they're doing through things that black people created. So if you're black, it's time for you to change your mind and take it to a higher level so you can become who you really are and control your life and do all the things that we're supposed to be doing down here. Learn the truth. Keep going after the truth repetitiously. When you find the truth, you realize it's the truth, go over it repetitiously and put it in your supercomputer. And after you put it in your supercomputer, don't go out trying to convince nobody else. It's not about blowing your own head up. Take that information and put it into practice. Use your mind to create your reality. That's what your boy is on. Use your mind to create your reality. White people conquered everybody, and now their mindset is the mindset of everybody on the planet. It's time for black people to have a godly black mindset about things, because the mindset that niggas got on this planet right now is fucked up, and it's an I am unworthy thought process. Maybe some white guy will come and give me salvation. So why this white guy named God just keep letting niggas get fucked up, and just white people keep running the world and balling? Realize with your mind. Once you realize it's fake, don't be scared to go find the real. Most of you niggas is just scared to break the process. You're a mental slave, my nigga. It's all about how the mind works. Fix your mind up, my nigga. Take that junk out and put that black shit in, because you black. That'll probably work better for you. You know, black science, black health, black truth is going to save a black person. You know, because white truth ain't going to save a black person. Come on now. Let's get it. Figure out how the mind works. Change your mind, and your life going to change. This is your boy, Shiena. Feel like I'm talking a little too long, so I'm gonna let y'all go. I was all over the place. I'm sorry about that. I should have just stayed mostly on the mind. So I'll make another video about the mind, and I'll make another video about quantum physics and how we interact with the cosmos, how we can use these energies on this planet through ourselves to manifest what we want. You know, everybody know that there's zodiac signs. So zodiac signs mean we're different. We have different spiritual powers, but we all have spiritual powers. So quit relying on the government to finally say something that's going to change our lives. Use your spiritual power that's already inside you, the God in you, to change your own life. Nobody's going to come save you, baby. Use your mind to save yourself. Black people, quit using y'all mind to hate on each other. This self-hate thing is getting out of control. Love the nigga on side of you, and y'all use y'all minds together to get out the rut that y'all in. What you think you will have. So shall a man thinketh, so shall he have. Whatever you think about the most, it's going to eventually manifest from your brain into this reality. So what are you thinking about? Are you thinking that you're great and that you're worthy of having whatever your mind can create? Or are you thinking that you can't make shit happen and you gotta wait till God make it right? Because if you waiting, then your life is at a standstill and you gonna be waiting. Make it happen in your own mind. Be God, my nigga. One.